move that out of the way then. I've got to undo them now, and yeah, now we know what's wrong. Some kind of sealer. The filter has melted. Yep, we ain't getting that fixed anytime soon. Getting into the tank. Look at the state of the pump. Although funny enough, that still works. Well, I say it still works, I don't actually know that for real, but you can buy all those parts individually, so that's not a complete disaster. This sock you can get, filter sock, you can actually get that. The pumps are obtainable, but my biggest issue is that tank. Welcome back. Now, a lot of you regulars on my channel know that I absolutely love trikes, right? I love building them, I love riding them. I haven't had one on the road for a long while. The big one that I got here came off the road because it was just too heavy for my arms, and what with arthritis and everything, so I just decided, and the engine went wrong on it as well, so I just kind of left it abandoned, and now I want to attempt another build. Now, I've been scouring around. I've got this Victory Vegas parked in a shed that I've had for a long time, which I did on a deal for another trike that a chappie wanted, and I originally was going to do a bike test, but that's over £1,000. I can't find anybody that do hourly lessons, and I thought that's a big gamble if it all go tits up on me. Money I haven't really got. I could spread it out over a period of time, to the reason why I've now decided to go with a trike. You also know, you regulars, that I've had problems with my legs lately, hence the videos not coming out too fast and furious as they have done in the past. So what have I been doing? Well, for the last 3 years since I bought this trike, or got this trike, obtained it, I've been looking at ways of trying to trike it. Problem is, it's a belt drive, and that's a nightmare. There's a friend of mine around the corner gave me an axle which came off an American Duster. Specifically, he switched his axle over, took that one out, nothing wrong with it. He just wanted something stronger because he does drag racing with it. So I've took the diff out, I've took the shafts out, and this is what I'm going to do. A little low on light in here, I apologise in advance. So there is the differential. It's a really good one. It's good clean, very minimal wear in there from what I can see. I've took the crown ring off. I've got the stub axles, I believe that's what you call them. Jag wheels fit that. Brilliant, because I have a Jag rear end on that trike, so I've got wheels, I've got disc, brakes, the lot. I've got everything I need to convert that over to discs, handbrake as well. So I've already got half the stuff okay. The axle shell that you saw out there, I intend to use the tubes in order to mount those, and that will be rigged up. Before I move to the next bit, please note this area here. Right, there is a beautiful Victory Vegas, and yes, some of you are probably looking at this thinking, why? Well, the simple answer is I can't ride it, and it's been my dream, a lifetime dream since I was 17, to own an Indian. This is as close as I'm going to ever get to riding an Indian, bearing in mind Polaris have now got the rights to Indian. So I'm taking that off, the pulley. I'm going to take this down to an engineering shop I know. I believe this is Cast Alley. I'm going to get him to machine the centre out completely, and then we'll make up a solid aluminium disc centre that can bolt straight onto the stub out, the crown ring, and then we'll get that welded on if he can do it. This is subject to whether he can do it. So once that is on there, that's half my battle already won. Then we'll make a platform for everything to fit onto, which will be fixed on to the swing arm possibly, and plans change, okay, so I may end up having to cut the swing arm and weld extra stuff to it and do all of this, but at the moment where my sight is going, a platform that will fix to one side like a big axle bolt running through the centre, which will give me something to mount to. That will sit underneath the differential cage that I've got to make, because I've got to encase that, and I'll go back to that in a minute. That'll be fixed onto there somehow. I haven't figured it all out yet. So this is the introduction to my Victory Vegas. There it is. So now I've got to decide, well, I ain't got to decide, actually it's down to the engineer really. What I'd like to do is to have that cut off, all the spokes gone. However, upon turning it over, I noticed there's an insert moulded into this. It's quite a chunky insert, but it's an insert and it will fit over that. However, if it was to machine this down and then re-drill some new holes to bolt that directly over, I won't have anywhere for the bearing. And then I thought to myself after, I thought, okay, that could be an issue, but he could machine that back, make a second plate up that slots over this where the bearing is, and then extend that shaft out to here with a new bearing set. But that would have to be a horrifically, I mean, I say horrifically, that would have to be a massive interference fit for this to work, and then he'd have to step it down so as the internal shaft is the same size as well. I'm not sure if that would be a good way of doing it. I don't know how strong that would be if that was welded to that, and I'm worried about warpage. I'm hoping he'll agree with me that that could be cut out and an internal disc could be made and welded in. That's what I'm kind of hoping for, even if it meant making a large one that overlapped here and then he welded around that if that wall is thick enough to weld. And see, this is the other thing that worries me. So I guess we'll see tomorrow, won't we? If he may even just tell me to leave because he ain't got time. He's a busy bloke. All I can do is slap the money on the table and say, this is how much I got. If the job is a well-paid job, he may make a new swing arm. So the next thing I need to do when he says he can do that job is I need to get that swing arm off, I need to get this mudguard off, rear seat off. Once I've got that off, I will wait for that component to come back, and when it does, I will clear this bench and speak to my kid about that. We're going to get the outside bench sorted out. We're going to move all this shite out to that one, and then gradually, bit by bit, we'll clear this part of the shed up because it's a mess, and it has been for a long while. And we'll get all I'll go through my shelves, what I know I ain't going to be using anymore, and there's a lot of stuff over there that can be slung. There's a fair old bit on here as well I'm never going to use, like that Range Rover stuff down there. That's all the F5 stuff. I don't even know why I kept it. So I will do an alley pile and make some money on my scrap, which I'm allowed to do, and we'll go from there really. There's a lot of talking on this video at the moment. Bear with me, please. I've taken the differential down to the engineer, and I asked for the crown ring to be duplicated in a sense in aluminium billet, and then weld the rotor on to that billet. That was what I wanted. That's what I thought would be the easiest and simplest solution, but I always had my doubts to whether it could be welded, one, without warping it, or two, getting enough penetration through the alley where it kind of amalgamates as one. Well, he did put a curveball in on that idea, and he said it could crack. The heat could crack the aluminium because it's a cast alley part. Yeah, I didn't think of that one. So what we're going to do instead, and there's no guarantee this is going to work, on the outer face of that point where the crown ring bolts to, he's going to machine that whole lot flat. The bearing holder is going to get removed as well, so that whole thing is flat. He's going to order in a piece of billet, about 200 quid's worth. He's going to machine that down as another secondary disc to go on the outer edge with a new bearing carrier. Then he's going to enlarge the hole on the aluminium, and he's going to push that on. He's going to bolt the two halves together of the steel, and then he's going to re-drill, and he's going to bolt the rotor in place, and hopefully that'll hold it, and that'll be enough. He's also going to make me a secondary disc to go on the other side where the crown ring used to bolt to as well, because we need to put a piece of steel tubing over that whole area. Purpose being, we've got to fill it with grease, and to be honest, I don't want grease in it, I want oil in it. But in the design of the axle is you put oil flashes around in that, and it actually finds its way through and it throws it up into the shafts themselves. So somehow I need to find a way of blanking those shafts off, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really know how I'm going to do that because the splines are bigger. So the only thing I can think of that might work is when I take those half shafts down, because you've got to shorten them for me, maybe cut some tubing, split it and weld it just before the splines start, and then put that on a lathe and machine everything down so it fits the sleeve tightly, because none of this is coming off, and the more rigid it is on that differential the better, frankly. So when I put the bearing carriers back on and I bolt it all down, it should be pretty solid. It is now looking like we are going to be going into a swing arm conversion. Quick update, put a security light in here. We had somebody on the roof a few months ago. I've got a security light going up on the roof as well soon, so if there is anybody up there I'll be able to see them. Anyway, the reason why we're here again late at night, as I made a statement about buying another one of those. Oops, mustn't do that. Ooh. You won't believe how much money one of those lights costs, and it's sealed, so the LEDs inside go. That's it, it's done. You throw it away. 130 quid is the cheapest I have found from the United States, with a £50 fee of postage, and in Europe £250. We will not be putting standard tail lights on this thing. Not happening. To be honest with you, it will be within the widths of legislation that only maximum will permit me to put side markers. I'm not even sure if I want to use that now, just because how much it costs. Blimey. Right, update. I cut the tank open. More curiosity than anything else. Doesn't really matter what I do, I'm going to be spending big bucks on another tank, or I temporarily weld some of it back together and have it as a dummy tank. But you can see how bad it is. It's horrendous. I mean, some of it's good, most of it is bad. Down there it's really crispy. I did put this wire brush unit in before I pulled it apart, but what that wire brush wouldn't do was clean that surface up at all. Couldn't get down in them gaps, so I couldn't even get a sandblaster in there if I wanted to. I only had one choice, really: cut the bugger open. So I think you'll find one of the pipes that's caused the problem. For fuck's sake. Fucking boy of mine. Is that skinny little pipe there. It was blocked up at each end because this guy who had it before me left it out in the garden for 3 years, in the nettles, in the hedgerows. I think this is an accumulation of that problem. That and a bad seal on the fuel cap, more than likely anyway. But look, here's where we're at. I can buy one off eBay, but I know nothing about it, and some of these sellers are just not honest enough, and they're all over 160 quid each, right? Up to 250 quid each, depending where you get it from. I'm hardly going to post it back if the postage is going to be like 70-80 quid. Okay, I'm just not going to do it, am I? So I could be ended up lumbered with another one, another rotten tank. So I spoke to him at a cycle shop today that deals in these things. He says he'll have a look, see what he's got. He thinks he has more tanks lying around that are in good condition. 300 quid. By the time I sent this off to be dipped, which is what I was going to do, £160. £50 to £80 in postage because it's heavy. Okay. Then I've got to get it back, and I've got to seal it all up inside with pet sealer, which I might have to do more than once over a period of years, because they keep changing the ethanol content, so the formula gets changed in that pet seal. So I've got to go through all that aggravation for starters, right? Which is what I think has peeled a lot of this paint off as well. High ethanol content. And then I've got to strip the paint on the outside, and I've got to repaint that as well. So the simple question is, this tank is a throwaway. I'm better off just buying a 300 quid tank. However, because I'm twiddling my fingers at the moment, I am going to run this through my sandblaster, and I am going to attempt to clean it all up, and I am going to attempt to weld it back together. I have not as yet successfully welded a fuel tank up in my life. They've always failed. Right, it's another new day. I think 4 days have gone by, and I've just decided to pull this out. That's pretty bad, but I was right. It is thicker steel than your average Japanese junk, and I'm quite happy about that. But realistically, I don't think I can fix this. So here's my plan. I'll have a go. I will have a go. Okay, I have de-rusted that as best as I can get it. I haven't got it perfect because my sandblaster's not working, and the other handheld one I got, I can't find it. It's in that shed somewhere under all that rubbish, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get this off now. No, you can get a little gist of it, can't you? Look, I had trouble getting that out the first time, so no. Okay, I've bent that pipe about, so I'm going to drop some washers over them too, weld the washers in, and then weld around that, and hope. And then here I'll tack the corners down when I get it level, and then I'll weld a plate straight over the top of that as well. Americans, you do love your damn filler, or Bondo as you like to call it. No end of the stuff. Horrible to work with. You know, I don't know why this is covered in Bondo. I just don't understand why they've done that. It's everywhere. There will be welding showing. I will try and hide it as best as I can, and I will probably have to put filler over the top. Right, it's welded. I might have just got away with it. So I've got to sand back, or wire brush back, and grind back there. Then I've got to weld the tabs back on, because I had to cut those off for the time being. I did drop it, slid off my flipping stool that I broke, and it hit the steps. So I've got a little bit of filling to do there, and I've got a fair bit of grinding, and this is the messiest part. That was the hardest area, and unfortunately I have lost the shape a little bit. Okay, I have been very, very suspicious of this for a while actually. Right, ethanol in your fuel tank. You need to know this. Ethanol doesn't turn into water, rather it is a hygroscopic substance, meaning it absorbs and holds moisture from the air and other sources. Over time, the ethanol in the fuel tank can absorb enough water to cause phase separation, where a layer of water and ethanol sinks to the bottom of the tank because it is heavier than the petrol. This happens due to condensation from temperature changes and moisture in the air. There you go. Right. Pause that a minute. Right. It's now welded. I've done the best I can with it, and we had a few little mishaps here and there. Drilled through that pipe, mucked it up, so I had to cut a new hole out, pull the pipe over a little bit more, managed to weld it all up, put a plate in there to hide the big hole that I had. I'm not going to do much with that area. Maybe a wire brush, but that's about as far as I go with it. So I've hit it with a grinder, and then I hit it with a DA after. It could have gone better. I'm predicting pinprick holes everywhere there. I reckon that's all going to be leakage points, all of it. So there you go. It don't really look out of place, do it, considering the mess we had. So once I've got some filler around all those edges, which is what they had done in the first place, I think we'll be good to go. Okay, you're probably thinking, well, you ain't done much, but I have actually. I pulled that seat off, as I said I would do, and there's the frame for the seat to bolt to. Cut a bit of checker out underneath, and I've cut all of that out as well. So you can see where the original plate used to be. It used to go around the side there. I was going to build the checker plate up around the edge, and then I chose not to in the end, because I don't know how much of this foam I actually want to keep. I keep debating whether to shorten that to about there where my thumb is, so where that is, take it to about there instead, or cut it so it kind of has a matching shape. Hang on, let me back away a bit, so it has a matching shape from that other seat. But to be honest, I don't think there's much hope of matching that up. I am going to take that to an upholsterer when I can afford it and get some new leather put on that. In fact, I might do the back one as well, because it's a bit worn out, to be honest. There, now I've got somewhere to put staples, rivets. So we've got the alley underneath there. I've wound it all the way up around there. It's absolutely solid now. It fits perfectly on that. If I need that lower, then what I will do is cut it and drop it down to wherever it needs to be dropped down. At the moment, I'm happy to leave it where it is, because even though it is a little higher, and I think she'll struggle with that, I don't think that if I lower, I'm going to be able to bolt that thing on properly. I finished the welding on this as best as I can get it now. Areas where I thought there might be a few pin bricks I've now filled, and that's all I can do. You can't get any more than that. I've hoovered it all out, so it's relatively clean in there now, and I've added a backrest support for me. I haven't put this down yet, because I think I'm going to have to cut into that bit there in order to be able to pull this out when I need to, because when she jumps on the back of this, I know for a fact this has got to come out. This whole backrest will have to come off, because she ain't going to get in there otherwise. Her legs don't work, so I don't even know if she's ever going to get on this, to be honest with you. I hope so, because we can have some good fun times to share. But if she can't, she can't. There's not much I can do apart from reduce the height of that seat, and I'm looking into that. I'm trying to work out if I can drop it, but the problem is the bolt pattern underneath. Getting the bolts in will be the issue. It'll be very difficult unless I can find a way of hinging that on. The only other thing I'll come up with is making a whole new plate, which means I've got to do my backrest again, and that is when I do the fiberglass and the framework for the springs. I lower that seat straight down on top with a new bolt pan instead of going with that system. I mean, I glassed this all up yesterday ready. I need a new seat cover because that one's cream crackered, knackered. So yeah, all the products for this are going to be in within the next couple of days. So first thing, one of the first deliveries has just arrived. I wasn't expecting, I ordered it yesterday. So this is the fuel pump for the Vegas, and I'll be honest, I'm a little confused by that round rubber, because on the early Victories this hole was circular, and I could not find anywhere. This was marked up for an 2011 as well, but I couldn't find one with a square gasket. I am assuming that's what that's for, because I cannot physically think of any other use for that other than, and this is what I picked up. So there you go. Okie dokes, everything is in. I've got the filler, the epoxy based filler. I spent a lot of money on this, more than what a new tank would have cost, to be honest with you. Well, a second-hand tank. Cleaner, rust remover, the stuff that you pour in to line it with, and I got a lot of that. Because one thing we all know, that the little pep seal, the little pep seal cans, they say pour it in and swish it around. You know as well as I do, they never give you enough in there to do the job properly. So this time I'm putting the whole ratty tin in. I'm going to shake it all around because I don't think it's a two-part system, and then I will drain out what's left back into the tin. How I'm going to get that out though I don't know at this point in time, but we will try and go from there really. So we are ready to start if it wasn't for the fact that I put that fuel pump system together last night, and I'll show you that later on, and notice that the float unit inside that, or pressure gauge, or whatever the hell it's meant to do, is damaged. There's no fuel gauge on this, and I do not like riding things or driving things without a fuel gauge. No. So what I'm going to do, I've ordered an aftermarket fuel gauge, and I'm going to cut a hole out here and drop it in there somewhere. But to do that, I need to make a steel plate to go over the top because this is too thin to bolt to. So I'm going to use some 12mm steel a friend gave me. I'm going to cut a hole out, ready, and then I'm going to cut a series of holes out all the way around. I'm going to weld it all in. I'm going to make a second plate to go over the top with a hole in it. So when the idea is you drop the sender unit in, you put a sealer around it, you put the second plate on top, which is heavier metal than what the sender unit is, and then you bolt it down, and that one is the one that clamps it into position. The holes that I'm going to drill, they're going to have nuts, bolts, 6mm bolts welded in from the underside, so the studs sticking out, and then I'll use nylocks to hold it all in, and then I'll cut the bolts after. Yeah, you will see that underneath. There's nowhere to put it other than around here or over there. There is nowhere. So I'm going to stick it over here next to this area here. So I'll hole saw a hole out. The float sender, it's a two-way float sender really, because you've got a long rod, and it depends which way round you want. So my concern is not that empty will show up on full, because I can get round that, I think. My issue is leakage because of where it's going. So I'm using my pillar drill is absolutely knackered. There is such a lop on that bloody shaft that I didn't exactly drill it straight. But anyway, I've already done these two once already, and then I realised that didn't need the hole cut out. This is not the one I'm using, but I'm using it as a guide. And what I was concerned about was that piece of plastic there. I thought going upside down like that, that's going to leak like a pig. But the one I've ordered has actually got rubber in there as well, so I'm quite happy about that. But that doesn't change the fact I'm going to make some alterations. Instead of doing what I originally was going to do, just cut a circle out and then drill and lay that on top, I don't have an earth strap. So I'll do a 12mm hole in the middle, something around that size, maybe bigger, just so I can get it over the top of that nut. And then I'll cut a little recess on the inside, and I will put loads of sealant around that as well, so when I squash that down we've still got access to that, but the sealant pushes up against the nylon. It's on. That's the sender unit I'm using. There ain't much of it because there's such a small space. I hope I got that wired correctly, but I'll test it before I put it in, and if I got it wrong I'll have to rework it again. But the point is, that is all there. I'll put some etch primer over the metal. The next thing to do is to tape up all the holes. That's got to be, I've got to put a blank in there. Might be a good idea actually, cut them down a little lower, stick some 6mm nuts on there and test that out properly. The welding didn't come out too bad. Quite pleased with that. All the way around. Clean process. No leaks. I'm gobsmacked, because normally I end up with leaks, but nope. The only leaks I had was from where the tape wasn't sticking down properly round down there. Other than that, no leaks. Everything was fine. When I turned the tank over to see if I'd blown through those pipes, and I reassessed those, the water was sitting in there and nothing was coming out. It was only when I turned it upside down, because I got the gas cap covered in tape, water was getting through that and then coming back. So they work. Right, I'm just drying it out. Next process, de-rust. Can't see very much, it's a little dark up here, but it's a silver based paint. There you go, you got a little glimpse of what's going on. There's a fair bit loose in there, so what I've got to do now is patch this hole over and then patch that hole over, turn this thing over and then let it run all the way down into those locations there. At the moment they're sitting proud in the centre. So that is it. For the next 4 days this has got to sit steady. Now is tear the tape off the filler and leave it. I actually did find one leak when I was doing the de-rusting process. Managed to weld that up. This tank will be as good as new by the time I'm finished. So yeah, I'm pretty damn pleased with this. It's been a bit of a long haul because I've had to wait for materials and all the other things that come with this, but as soon as that sealer has gone hard, Tuesday onwards, we'll start thinking about putting the epoxy filler around all the areas I welded, just because that's a little harder than your average filler, and then I'll put some of the regular stuff on, sand all that paint back as far back to primer as I can get it, and then we'll put a red oxide on after I've done all the sanding and filling. And right, shut the radio down. Okay, so we've got the paint inside and it's gone hard. Now I might have misread that. It might have been 90 minutes or it might have been 90 hours. I'm pretty sure I saw 90 hours on that tag, but you know, it's been a hard week, long week, sorry, not a hard week, but a very long week with appointments and builders turning up from the council and all sorts, and I've just not been able to keep track of anything at the moment. A guy came around 24 hours to 7 days is how long that blast of stuff takes to dry. So we ain't doing any more of this today. So what I did is I just quickly added a little extra because I know I've got to put it on there at a later date, and I thought I ain't sitting there for another 7 days or 24 hours or whatever it is. So I've done over that weld there, not to hide the weld but just to seal it, just in case, because there was a strengthening plate in there, and I've gone around those edges, I've gone around that one, I've done the same on the back, so I'm trying to get that curve back. I will put a sanding disc on a drill to do that one, to get that curve perfect again, because I lost the shape when I welded it a little bit. Once I've got this down, I will then put some regular filler on, which will dry a lot quicker, and we'll wire brush all the sticker foam off we had on the side and primer this thing up once we've sanded it. Okay, filler's gone hard and I'll hit it with a sander, and I've got what I consider a very, very basic shape. I still haven't quite got that centre hole. I need to come around here a bit more. There's too much, so I need to come around, and then so I need to take that bit out, but I think there's metal in the way there. But this is just the mould coat, as I call it, the shaper. So we just got to clean up around those areas there and underneath. Well, you couldn't even see it anyway. It seems pretty pointless now when you look at it, but there's some nice cut lines under there now, which I'm quite pleased about. So yeah, it's the tank's all sealed up now. There's a fuel gauge on it, which there wasn't before. Right, I'm on my last leg of sanding and filling. The next process, red primer, and then the next process, filler primer. Filler primer, sand it back, filler primer, sand it back. Once I'm happy with that, excuse me, burping there. Once I'm happy with that, we'll put the well, we won't do nothing after that actually, because I want to put the base coat on, but to be honest, I would like to put it on here, but I don't know, maybe I should paint it and worry about getting it running after I've done all the conversion, hey. Right, well, let's try not to drop it, because dropping it is what made me fill up the top. I've done the best I can, can't do any better. If I try, I apologise for that. There's no light up here because all of those are blown. that idiot that was on the roof has put holes everywhere and it all leaks, and I've got to get up there at some point before the wood rots and reseal all that down. But plus side is I have got the primer on, but the primer went bad. Not an issue because we've got to rub this down anyway to get all the blemishes out, and then we're going to put another coat on. I'm hoping there's enough filler in that tin, filler primer. I've got two more to do really. The next one will be just to get rid of any other issues. I've got one there that I didn't quite sand out. Oh, it's annoying. Okay, a little bit more sand in there, but the rest of this is not too bad. How much of a beaten man I am. He just whacked the shit out of me for no reason. Whatever. Anyway, that is the second heaviest coat, and bits flew out of the tin. So the final one I'm putting on here is going to get filtered, and I'll sand that one back, and no doubt I will have areas where it's blown through. The last coat after this, if it comes out the way it has at the moment, will be a rattle can filler primer, which I shall just gently spray on and hit it with the finest of flour paper to try and get rid of any marks, blemishes, and then I shall leave it for a few days. It is old primer. I mean, we're going back 3 years with this stuff. Fresh hardener though. I had to buy that the other day. That was a tenner just for that on its own. I've filtered it. I didn't want to filter it because I didn't want to remove all the powdery bits that makes the primer a filler primer. However, it was necessary because by the time I filtered it, this is what was removed. I mean, the tin is flipping old. I'm telling you now, it's old. There's the tin. You can see the crap in it, and the filter that I made, well, it worked. So yeah, that was the best I could do. I washed that filter out first with water last night, dried it overnight, and that's the end result. I know it's nuts. Okay, change of plan on the paint. I can't do anything about that at the moment, but what I can do apart from is knock off those roof joints. I can't believe how they put that on there, right? They've drilled holes for a plate. I would have assumed that they would have put a plate underneath that, glued that in with the bolts and studs to line up with those holes, glued it and then bolted it in, and then put a plate underneath for extra strength, because that is part of the roof. That's the rear pillar. Mr. Clarkson, Jeremy Clarkson, drove this car in Perfect Road Trip 2. I can't believe how dangerous that is. I wonder if he had any inkling to, if he'd have crashed that, he wouldn't have survived it, to be honest with you. That's mad. So what I want to do is I was looking at crash bars for the front because I think I need a crash bar to be able to bolt this monstrosity on. I think I've got a bracket that goes there and there that goes on the crash bar, but I'm not sure how the rest of it goes because this does not fix to the handlebars. It's just too big. You can't turn the steering. So my thoughts on it are, because I'm clumsy, very clumsy, I thought, let's just sand the tank down, finish off any blemishes, and I've still found some more. There's quite a few on there still to deal with. I've got one there to deal with, and there was a pit over here, a little line there where I caught it when I carried it in. You see what I'm saying? I'm clumsy. The shed's a mess anyway, so I've got nowhere to put it. So my thoughts on were, drop the headlight, not disconnect it, just drop it, undo that bolt, and have that hanging down, and measure up that fairing to see how that's going to fit. The only thing about that fairing I don't like is they sit too far forward and they look ridiculous. If I can bring that right close but still turn the handlebars, which is going to be an effort because I've got that on that frame down there, then I'll be happy. Oh, and if you're wondering why I was pointing to this earlier, that's the body shell I'm planning on using. I reckon we'll have to cut it right down to there, throw that away, take the boot, cut all those slats out because they're no use to me, and glue everything on and shorten it to about the width of that metal frame on the back, and then build some wheel arches, mud guards that can go on, that will go around and then come down at an angle like the modern stuff. That's kind of where my head has been going with it. Hustling it down with rain out there. Right, well, it's just resting on at the moment. I mean, I won't deny I'm half and half about this at the moment because it's just so damn big. I mean, it takes up half the bloody bike, and you lose your vision left and right. But, and this is the big but, this is not a motorcycle anymore. This is a tricycle. So it's going to be fairly wide at the back, and I need to balance that out at the front, although that might be a little over the top. All I want out of this is to jump on it, sod off to Wales for the weekend, be comfortable there, comfortable all the way back, and that's all I need from it. So having as many areas to store would be great. So my thoughts on it are, build these up into proper pockets. I mean, they do open, but they're not very good in there at the moment. So put locks on those. Move that to in there somewhere, so patch all them holes up, put the speedo in there, screen there for sat nav maybe, because you can get onboard sat navs now, you can buy them. Maybe a radio if we're feeling that we can get away with it. I don't particularly want it, but you never know with me. So speakers could go in down there, and each side stereo could go on top, or it could go. I mean, there's loads of things, right? That's not where I want to go with it at this point in time. I need to clarify that. The other problem I've got is the lines don't match. It looks too Honda Goldwing 1970. They're just not flowing with the tank and the rest of the style of the bike at the moment. So my thoughts on it are, providing this little light don't get in the way here, that maybe we can build that out and sort of flow like a frame across there, so it comes down and goes down, and then here we can then build onto that and bring it down, and then put in some kind of air deflector where it V's off. So when the wind hits it, it blows it onto the cylinders, blows the water away from the side of my legs. Also with the leg guard that I'm thinking of building, which will come out here and then go down and then across. I'm thinking about building across to here and then going in and putting some floorboard of some sort in, just somewhere that I can stand and the wife can stand to get on this thing. Because as a motorcycle, you tend to lean the bike over when you're getting on it so you can get your leg over. The moment I put my leg up in the air, I get cramp in my hip straight away. As simple as that. This can't tip. It's 3 wheels, can't tip it. With the extra width, and yeah, I am trying to justify all of this, by the way, with the extra width as well going on, plus we've got that backrest that's going to go on here at the back, which will creep round, top box here, maybe a rack behind that, with all that fare and stuff that I'm planning to build for the back. I think that will balance out nicely with that. I then have myself a touring trike, which will do everything I need it to do. If I want something else for local running around on, I do still have hidden behind here, you can just see the back end sticking out. I've got that little CB 500, so I may turn that into a local run around, you know, and put a sprocket kit on an axle and go with it, and RE-fire that thing up as well. So I've got 2. Where the rat rod sits at the moment, which is why I said to you I will get back to that, that thing's going to get a windscreen, that's going to get pushed out the front, and then I'll make my mind up what I'm doing, whether I'm going to finish it or sell it, I don't know yet, because I need that concrete, because I've then got to build a garage space for the 2 trikes to go in, and any motorcycles as well, because I've got the Honda out there, the little C70, and there was something else in the pipeline, but I don't actually think that's going to materialise, so I'm being buggered around with at the moment. So, none, apart from I ordered a load of these. These are really cheap. Really cheap. You know, that worked out about £2 each. Can't get them anywhere in the town anymore. Nobody supplies them, and I need those to make up the crash bar. the crash bar is not actually going to be much of a crash bar because it's there for aesthetics. Flipping words I find. That is just too big at the moment, so I decided what I need, and I was going to do a moustache style one to come out, but even that ain't going to build up that area. I'm still determined that's going on, but look, we'll just keep going with it until one it works or two it don't. We'll know one way or the other, you know what I mean? So I was looking on the internet and found little glove boxes that fit to the side of the crash bars. Some of them have got speakers in, some of them have just got a flap that you put your gloves in and stuff like that, and I thought, you know what, that's quite a handy thing. Some have air vents in so you can get air through, and I don't know how all that works, to be honest with you, because they're built for Harleys and this is not a Harley. But as long as I make the leg shield up in the same similar style and measurements as a Harley one, there's no reason why they can't go on. Now the metal I'm using is the same diameter, so not a problem. However, I'm still hanging in there because I love my big old welder. It's been a good old welder, but now I'm moving on to Chinesium. Okay, so the new welder is here. I finally got it. God almighty, that should have been here yesterday, but something went wrong. They use Every as a company for delivery, and quite frankly I think that's one of the worst companies at the moment out there for delivering parcels, and for some other reason we're always last on the queue. So I have no idea what's in here. I know what was advertised, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it. I think some of you already know that. There are some of these versions for sale with a little bit more money, where you get a free mask and a few other bits and the aluminium spool gun. But I already have a spool gun, so I don't need their spool gun. Whether I've got one in here or not, I don't know. I generally don't know what will be here. So, what do we get? And then I'll check on the list to see what we should get. So there's the gun and tips. There is the rollers. What's this? That's some of the wire, which I probably won't use. That's the arc welder. What else? Earthing cable. We have brush and hammer, which is probably worth nothing, so that will get replaced with something way better. Okay, and we've got hose, and we've got the inner liner for the gun, which for some reason I do not understand why that was not already pre-fitted. So that's what's in that box. Look like the Chinese are upgrading. Oh wow. Right. Okay, well, one thing I was advised to do, and look at the chunky wire on that, was cut that plug off and replace that with a blue plug, because what my friend was saying is you cannot get this welder to whack up to 250 volts on the gauge unless you've got the right amount of current going in, obviously. So yeah, so this is a big boy welder for little boy money. That's my opinion on it. Now, the guy that recommended this to me, because he is somebody that has been spending big bucks on big equipment, and he works for himself and he builds bespoke garden furniture, fascias for houses, like canopies, like shell shape canopies, stuff like that. He makes a fortune in his industry, and he said to me when I asked him, what welder should I replace one that I can carry? And he said to me, well, I actually blew my last one up, which was I think it was a Lincoln Electric, but I can't say, I can't 100% remember. I know it's a very expensive brand. He said, I blew that bloody thing up. He said, and I bought this. And he said, this is absolutely incredible. So this is the Hitbox 250 amp welder, MIG welder. This cost me, I got a 30% discount on this, and I did not buy it because they were giving a whole ton of freebies with it, like a mask and oh bloody hell, I just said it earlier on, one of those guns, spool gun. They didn't come with a spool gun, so I got this a little cheaper. This was advertised at 230 quid, and if I've got the link I'll put it up. I know he ain't got many left. It's a proper welding company that was selling them, and he gave me a 30% discount, just randomly 30% discount, that was something else that I was buying. Brought this down to £189. That being said, I think if this works and the build quality is good, and I don't know yet, then I think we've got ourselves a damn bargain here, don't you? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to start a new video at a later date with this thing working and being used. So this is what we bought, this is what we got for 189 quid, and I will try and remember to put the purchase item number in, I don't know how I'm going to do this actually. I think I might take the back off this and just see what kind of quality it is inside, and we'll go from there. But at the moment it's tea time, I'm flipping hungry. They've just finished the tiling. This is a government kitchen, and that's where they've got it so far. Pretty damn impressive if you ask me. Okay, I have just pulled this apart, just out of curiosity to see what's inside. I'm assuming you've got your main coil there. I don't know what that one's all about. Maybe you have to power some of the board up. I don't actually know. Got some kind of relay here, I think, or coil itself. That might be the relay for the trigger. But anyway, cut a long story short, I'm glad I opened it up because I found this was not done up properly. That is a reverse thread, and that would have leaked. And this pipe itself was actually touching the earth cable and the live cable, which I know from experience can get a bit on the warm side. We don't want to be melting that, so I've moved that and cable tied it up over there. Quite cheap inside, but then what do you expect? It's Chinese. The only thing I can say is you can get these a dozen online, and you can buy these as well, 10 to a dozen online. The only thing you can't get your hands on is probably the board itself, and to be honest, if you blew the board up, I think this is disposable. I think this is just one you just throw away or put in a cupboard out of the way for some of the spare parts like these and that and these. There's a lot of useful bits and bobs on here. The reason why I opened it, other than to check the build quality, was if it was going to be possible to be able to move the lead for the live power from here and bring it through and then around, so I can separate it into one or the other instead of relying on the gun. It can be done. I'm not sure at the moment how, but I will use the gun as it is. I shan't tamper around with it too much. I'll use this for what it is, and when this goes wrong up this end, which it will, I'll then look at ordering something so I can then feed it into that. Even if I have to change all of this to be able to do it, I will do it, and this will then run on regular everyday equipment without having to worry about anything really. So in the meanwhile, we're getting a framework done here, and I'm just waiting for a very good friend of mine to get me some brake calipers, and then I can start converting the axle stubs to a disc system, and then I'm going to get the axle itself cut in half, get all the metal removed that I need removed, and I'm hoping very soon we will get the axle back. That's what I'm hoping for, and then we can start making up the swing arm. But at the moment I'm just concentrating on stuff that I will have to do at some point, which is all that front stuff, because I will end up doing it. So next thing to do when the welder come in is the crash bars, and that's about all I've got for you at the moment, because at the moment we ain't able to do very much due to the council sorting out our kitchen. I'm actually looking forward to that, getting that finished. I'll have a nice new kitchen for Christmas. Anyway, moving on.